Luke worked quietly in the small repair bay of the space station. His hands moved carefully over the strange alien machine. The ship was unlike any he had seen before. It had smooth metal and glowing lights that changed colors. Luke was the best mechanic on the station, but this ship was a new challenge. The space station was far from Earth, on the edge of the galaxy. It was a busy place, full of many different kinds of people and aliens. Luke liked the station because it was always full of new things to learn, but he was also lonely. Most people came and went quickly. He did not have many friends. One day, while Luke was working on the ship, a young alien girl walked into the bay. She moved carefully and looked around with big eyes. Her skin was a soft blue color, and she had long silver hair. She wore a suit that looked like armor but was light and shiny. Luke had never seen anyone like her before. The girl stopped near the door and looked at Luke. She seemed shy and nervous. Luke smiled and said, "Hello, I am Luke. Can I help you?" The girl nodded. Slowly, she spoke in a soft voice that sounded strange but gentle. "I am Myra. My ship is broken. Can you fix it?" Luke looked at the ship again. "I will do my best. It might take some time." Myra stepped closer and watched Luke work. She did not speak much. She looked at the tools and the parts with curiosity. Luke noticed her quiet way. She was different from other aliens he had met. She did not act proud or cold. She seemed kind but scared. As the hours passed, Luke worked on the ship's engines and circuits. Myra stayed nearby, sometimes helping by handing him a tool. Luke liked her company. He felt happy to have someone to talk to, even if it was just a few words. They tried to talk, but it was hard. Myra did not know many human words, and Luke did not understand her language. Still, they smiled and used gestures to explain things. Luke showed Myra some pictures on his tablet. They laughed when they made mistakes. Myra told Luke a little about her home planet. It was a place with many stars and big forests. She missed her family but had to come to this station for a special mission. Luke told her about Earth and the humans who lived there. Myra was surprised to hear about the many different places on Earth. Luke noticed that Myra looked at him with eyes full of wonder. She seemed to like the way he cared for the ship. Luke also found himself watching Myra. He admired her quiet strength and her gentle way. He wanted to know more about her and her world. One night, the space station was calm and quiet. Luke and Myra sat near the ship. Myra looked at the stars through the big window. Luke asked, "Do you want to see more of the station tomorrow?" Myra nodded and smiled a little. It was the first time she smiled like that. Luke felt his heart beat faster. He wanted to protect her and make her feel safe, but Myra was still shy. She did not know how to say what she felt inside. She had never been close to a human before. She wanted to stay strong but felt something new growing in her heart. The next day, Luke brought Myra to the small market on the station. They walked slowly and looked at the different things for sale. Myra was amazed by the colors and sounds. Luke bought some fruit and shared it with her. They laughed as Myra tried to eat the strange food. As they spent time together, Myra began to trust Luke more. She told him stories about her people and their ways. Luke listened carefully and told her stories about his life on Earth. They had more in common than they thought, but Myra was afraid. She did not want to feel weak. She did not want to lose control of her feelings. She kept her distance and spoke little about her heart. One evening, while they were fixing the last parts of Myra's ship, Luke looked at her and said, "I am glad you came here. I want to be your friend." Myra looked down and her cheeks turned red. She felt something warm inside but did not know how to say it. She only nodded. Luke smiled and said, "Tomorrow we will fly your ship together." Myra's heart was full of hope and fear. She wanted to believe him, but she was not sure what the future held. Luke and Myra spent more time together on the space station. Every day, Luke worked on Myra's ship, fixing the parts that were broken. Myra stayed close, watching and learning. She was curious about humans and wanted to understand their ways. Luke showed Myra how machines worked on Earth. He explained how people used tools and computers. Myra was surprised by how different things were from her planet. She listened carefully and asked many questions with her soft voice as they talked. Myra grew more comfortable around Luke. She smiled more often and looked at him with friendly eyes. Luke felt happy to see her smile. He liked her gentle nature and wanted to help her feel safe. One afternoon, they went to the station's garden. It was a place full of green plants and flowers. Myra had never seen so many colors and smells before. She touched the leaves carefully and laughed when a small bird flew near her. Luke watched her with joy. He thought she was beautiful and kind. He wanted to protect her from the dangers of space and loneliness. But he did not know how to say this in words. Myra liked being with Luke. She felt less alone. She told him about her planet's skies and seas. She said her people loved to watch the stars at night. Luke shared stories about Earth's oceans and mountains. They found joy in their different worlds. Sometimes Myra tried to speak more words. In human language, she wanted Luke to understand her better. Luke helped her practice. He was patient and kind. Myra felt happy to learn and talk, but inside Myra was still shy. She did not want to show her feelings. She was afraid of being hurt or misunderstood. She kept her heart hidden like a secret treasure. One night, while working on the ship's engines, Myra looked at Luke. Her eyes were full of hope but also fear. She wanted to say something important, but the words were hard. Luke smiled at her and said, "You don't have to be afraid. I am here." Myra took a deep breath and tried to speak. She said words that sounded strange but soft. Luke listened carefully. Suddenly, Myra's voice said, "I love you." The words hung in the air. Luke's eyes widened in surprise. Myra's cheeks turned bright red. She did not know what had happened. The words came out by accident. She did not mean to say them loud. Without waiting, Myra stood up and ran to her ship. She hurried inside and closed the door. Luke was left alone, feeling surprised and confused. He did not know what to think. For a long time, Luke waited outside the ship. He wanted to understand Myra's words. He hoped she would come out and talk to him again. Inside the ship, Myra sat down, her heart beating fast. She was embarrassed and scared. She did not know what love meant for humans. She felt the feeling in her heart, but was unsure how to handle it. Myra thought about Luke's kind smile and gentle voice. She felt warmth, but also fear. She worried that saying those words might change everything between them. After some time, Myra opened the ship door a little. She looked outside but did not come out. Luke saw her and smiled softly. He said, "It is okay, Myra. You can tell me anything. I will listen." Myra nodded slowly and stepped outside. She looked at Luke with eyes full of questions. Luke took her hand gently. From that moment, their bond grew stronger. Myra learned that it was okay to have feelings and to share them. Luke promised to be there for her no matter what. They finished fixing the ship together. Myra felt ready to face the future with Luke by her side. She still felt shy but also brave. The space station was no longer just a place of work. It was a place of friendship and hope. Luke and Myra grew closer after the day she said the words by mistake. They spent many hours together. Luke helped Myra learn about human feelings, and Myra tried to understand them. She still felt shy, but she wanted to trust Luke more. One morning, Luke invited Myra to explore a part of the station she had never seen. They walked through long hallways with lights and screens. Myra looked around with wonder. Everything was new and exciting for her. They reached a room with a large window. Outside, stars shone brightly in the black sky. Myra stood close to the glass and breathed slowly. She felt small but happy. Luke said softly, "The stars remind me of hope. They are far but still shining." Myra nodded. She looked at Luke's face and saw kindness. She wanted to say something important but was afraid again. Luke smiled and took her hand gently. "You don't have to be scared. I will listen." Myra closed her eyes for a moment. Then she spoke quietly in her soft voice. "I like you, Luke." Luke's eyes lit up. He felt a warm feeling in his chest. "I like you too, Myra." They stayed there for a while, holding hands and watching the stars. It was a new feeling for both of them. Myra felt her heart open, but she was still learning what it meant. Days passed. Luke and Myra worked on the ship together. Sometimes they shared stories from their lives. Luke told Myra about Earth and its many people. Myra told Luke about her planet and her family. One day, while testing the ship's engines, Myra looked nervous. She wanted to tell Luke something but did not know how. Suddenly, the ship's alarm sounded loudly. Red lights flashed. Luke grabbed a control panel. "What is happening?" Myra looked worried. "It is danger. Enemy ships near the station." Luke's heart beat fast. "We have to help." They rushed outside to see several dark ships approaching. The station's defense system was weak. Luke knew he had to act fast. Using his knowledge, Luke connected to the station's control. He tried to boost the shields. Myra helped by guiding him with her ship's technology. Together they worked quickly. The enemy ships fired lasers, but the shields held strong. Myra flew her ship in front of the station to block attacks. Luke admired Myra's bravery. She was small but fierce. He felt proud to fight beside her. After a long battle, the enemy ships moved away. The station was safe. Luke looked at Myra with respect. "You are very brave." Myra smiled, tired but happy. "I want to protect you." Luke took her hand. "We protect each other." That night, they sat near the window again. Myra felt safe with Luke. She no longer feared her feelings. She knew she could trust him. Luke said softly, "I never expected to find a friend like you." Myra looked at him and whispered, "Maybe more than a friend." Luke smiled and nodded. They both felt the same, but wanted to take their time. The stars outside shone bright, lighting their path forward. After the battle, the space station was quiet again. Luke and Myra spent the next few days repairing the damage. They worked side by side, talking and laughing. The danger had made them closer. Myra was still shy about her feelings, but she felt stronger. Luke's kindness helped her open her heart more each day. She wanted to show him how much she cared, but the words were hard. One afternoon, Luke took Myra to a small park on the station. It was filled with soft grass and colorful flowers. Myra walked slowly and looked around. She liked this peaceful place. Luke sat on a bench and looked at Myra. "You don't have to hide how you feel," he said gently. "I want to know what is in your heart." Myra looked down, her cheeks pink. She wanted to speak but was nervous. After a moment, she said softly, I am not good with words." Luke smiled kindly. "It's okay. You can show me in your own way." Myra felt brave. She reached out and took Luke's hand. The touch was warm and safe. She looked into his eyes and felt her heart beat faster. Suddenly, Myra's ship beeped from the nearby dock. She stepped back quickly, embarrassed. "I should check on it," she said. Luke nodded, but he could see she was worried. "I will come with you," he said. Together, they walked to the ship. Myra opened the door and looked inside. Everything seemed fine, but she was still uneasy. Luke put his hand on her shoulder. "We will fix any problems together." Myra smiled gratefully. She trusted Luke more than anyone before. As they worked on the ship's systems, Myra tried to explain some parts in her language. Luke listened carefully, learning new things. Myra enjoyed teaching him. After the work was done, they sat on the floor inside the ship. The room was small but cozy. Luke looked at Myra and said, "I am happy to be here with you." Myra's face turned red again. She felt shy but said, "I like being here too." They sat quietly, sharing the moment. Suddenly, the ship's screen showed a message. It was from Myra's home planet. The message said she must return soon. Myra looked worried. She did not want to leave Luke or the station. Luke saw the fear in her eyes. He took her hands and said, "No matter where you go, I will be here for you." Myra smiled, feeling comforted. But the thought of leaving made her sad. That night, Myra stood by the window, looking at the stars. She thought about Luke and the time they had spent together. She wanted to tell him more, but was afraid. Luke came to her side and said softly, "You don't have to say everything now. I will wait." Myra turned to him and whispered, "Thank you." They stood close, feeling the quiet peace of the night. The future was uncertain, but their bond was strong. The days went by quickly. Luke and Myra spent many hours fixing her ship. The work was hard but made them stronger. They shared stories and dreams during breaks. Myra felt happy to be with Luke. He made her feel safe and cared for. One day, Luke showed Myra a place on the station where people watched the sky. It was a quiet room with big windows. Stars shined bright and far away. Myra looked in wonder. She loved to see the stars from Earth and her own planet, Luke said. The stars remind me of how small we are, but also how big the universe is. Myra nodded and smiled softly. She wanted to tell Luke something important. She felt nervous, but brave, Luke, she said in her soft voice. I want to go with you, to see the stars and planets. Luke's eyes brightened. I would like that, Myra. We can explore together. Myra felt her heart beat fast. She was happy to share her dream. Luke reached out and took her hand gently. They looked at the stars, feeling hope. But soon, Myra's thoughts returned to her home planet. She worried about the message she received. She knew she had to return, but the idea made her sad. One evening, Myra and Luke sat near the ships. Controls. Myra looked at Luke and said, I must go home soon. My people need me. Luke's face showed sadness. I understand. But I will miss you. Myra felt tears come. She did not want to leave Luke or the station. She looked down and said, I do not want to go, but I must. Luke took her hand and said, No matter where you go, I will wait for you. Myra smiled and felt comfort. She knew Luke was true. The next day, Luke and Myra finished the last repairs on the ship. It was ready to fly. Myra felt a mix of joy and fear. She wanted to stay, but also knew she must leave. Luke helped her pack and said, Be safe, Myra. I hope we meet again. Myra hugged him tightly. Thank you, Luke. You are my friend. They looked at each other with quiet feelings. Words were not needed. When the time came, Myra climbed into her ship. Luke stood outside, watching. The engine started to hum softly. Myra waved one last time. The ship lifted gently and flew away into the stars. Luke watched until the ship was a small light in the distance. He whispered, Goodbye, Myra. I will wait for you. After Myra left, Luke felt lonely. The space station seemed empty without her. He missed her smile and quiet voice. He spent his days working, but thought of her often. One day, while fixing another ship, Luke heard a loud alarm. The station's warning system was active. Hostile ships were coming back. This time, the danger was closer. Luke ran to the control room. People were rushing, preparing for battle. Luke knew he had to help protect the station and those he cared about. He thought of Myra and hoped she was safe. Luke felt brave and ready to fight. The enemy ships attacked the station with strong lasers. The shields began to weaken. Luke quickly connected to the station's systems. He worked fast to repair the shields and power the defenses. Myra's ship suddenly appeared near the station. She flew in to help. Myra and Luke worked together, using their skills to fight the enemy. Myra flew her ship through the enemy ships, blocking their attacks. Luke controlled the station's defenses, aiming carefully. Their teamwork was strong. The enemy ships could not break through. After a hard fight, the enemies left. The station was safe again. People cheered. Luke and Myra smiled at each other, proud and tired. Luke said, You were brave, Myra. Thank you for coming back. Myra nodded. I had to protect the place and you. Luke took her hand. We make a good team. Myra smiled and looked at Luke with warmth. She felt safe and loved. After the battle, they spent quiet time together. Myra stayed longer on the station. She no longer feared her feelings. She wanted to be with Luke. Luke helped Myra fix her ship again. But now, their hearts were closer than before. One night, they sat by the big window, watching the stars. Myra said softly, I love you, Luke. Luke smiled and held her hand. I love you too, Myra. They looked at the stars and dreamed of a future together. The universe was wide, but they knew they could face it as one. The days grew calm after the battle. The space station returned to its peaceful routine. Luke and Myra spent their time together, enjoying each other's company. Their bond was stronger than ever. Myra no longer wanted to hide her feelings. She looked at Luke with love and trust. Luke smiled back with the same warmth. They were no longer just friends. One morning, Myra said, I want to stay here with you. Luke's face lit up. I want that too. They talked about the future, dreaming of traveling together. Myra no longer feared the unknown. She knew Luke would be by her side. Together, they prepared Myra's ship for a new journey. This time it was not to leave, but to explore the stars. Together, they planned to visit new planets and see wonders of the galaxy. The station's people watched them with smiles. They knew Luke and Myra had found something special. Their love was a bridge between two worlds. Before leaving, Luke gave Myra a small necklace. It was a simple ring with a star-shaped charm. "For you," he said, "to remember me and the stars." Myra touched the necklace and smiled. "Thank you, Luke. I will never forget." When the day came, they climbed into the ship together. Luke took the pilot's seat and Myra sat beside him. The engine started with a soft hum. The ship rose from the station, flying into the wide galaxy. Stars passed by as they looked out the windows. They held hands, ready for whatever came next. Luke said, "This is just the beginning." Myra nodded, her heart full of hope. Together they faced the future, their love shining bright like the stars.